What's up? I'm Billie Eilish, and you're watching Unfazed Review.
What's up, Unfazed crew? So today I wanted to talk about something that just broke yesterday. Now, this news was just from one guy, one dude on Twitter, and he has a Patreon. I guess he's like a freelance journalist. I'm not one to immediately believe everything I see on the internet. I know it's a cliche, but I do think it's a big problem. So I wanted to wait on this to see if it ended up being proved false. So far it hasn't. A couple people are reporting on it themselves on their own, a couple different people. I'll link the original source in the video. But even whether or not this ends up being fake, this thought process still stands. This problem is still a problem. And I usually try to wait on these things to see if and when they'll fizzle out and we can all fucking move on. But I think I've waited long enough. Now it's time to say something. So basically, it was like a PowerPoint for training for new teachers in the San Diego school district about white privilege. It was white privilege training. I was trying to teach them how to check their privilege, basically, and really shitty stuff. I don't know how else to say it. It's a waste of everyone's time. It's very narcissistic. So really briefly, I just want to go through some of the points that were on some of the slides that were leaked in this PowerPoint. So the first one is, we meet on stolen lands taken from indigenous people. True. But it is, of course, insinuating that I had something to do with that, which I didn't. You are racist. Literally, that's like the the header of one of the slides. You are racist. No, but I find it odd that you really, really want me to be. Okay, white people in America hold political, institutional, and economic power. Also true. I'm not going to debate this one. Yeah, the people in positions of power are the vast majority white. But just because I am white doesn't mean I hold any of that kind of power. Do you think we have like secret white meetings? Do you think I'm getting secret white money because I'm like part of their team? No, they don't give a shit about me. I don't give a shit about them. I don't like them as much as you don't like them. It doesn't. We're not like a club that meets. We all just happen to be white. It doesn't connect us in any way. Okay, my ability to thrive in this country is preserved without me having to do anything. Wow. Okay, so that's kind of a slap to the face. So what that's really saying is that all of your accomplishments in life were only obtained because you're white, and so it's just easy. You can just write them off. Oh, you're an Olympic gold medalist? Well, I see why. It must have been pretty easy for you. And okay, I don't like to talk about like my personal situation a lot because I don't want to be all boo-hoo and complain to you guys. Like, I'm gonna be fine, but I don't know. I have severe asthma in the middle of a pandemic, and I don't have enough money to pay for health insurance. But I can't choose to be picky and stay inside because I have to make money. So I still have to go out and work. I'm putting my health on the line, I'm putting my life on the line, to continuously pay for bills. And I can't even pay for everything I should be paying for. I can like barely get by with car insurance, barely get by with rent. But sure, go on about how everything's been so fucking easy for me. Why don't you? And the last one is, this one's great. This is one of the best ones, I think. I expect to feel discomfort, closed-mindedness, defensiveness, anger. So they are immediately trying to trivialize any conversation about this whole thought process by writing it off as like almost like a symptom. right? It's expect to feel these things, discomfort. It sounds like you're reading something off of the bottle of, something you just got at CVS. It's so, and when I use this term, I don't mean there's some grand conspiracy, but this is like very, very blatantly Orwellian shit. It's telling you can't think. It's telling you can't have any kind of an opinion at all. It's telling you don't have the validity to form a thought about this. You just have to agree with it. If you feel discomfort, anger, well, those things are, we predicted that you would feel those things, and thus they are meaningless. What? Okay. So it's already, if that is true, and if this sort of philosophy, or really anti-philosophy, has really infiltrated public school systems, and it's being taught to teachers, that's really, really bad. But again, even if it's all fake, even if it ends up being all fake, those points do represent the majority of that sort of belief system. And I think at this point in the latter 2020, we're all pretty familiar with that kind of, with people spewing that kind of garbage. So I don't know, the only way I can kind of break it down is, yeah, races are not teams. I don't carry the weight of everything that my race has ever done. I carry the weight of everything that I've done. My name is Emmett LaFave. I was born on November 4th, 1994. That's when my effect on the world began. And on November 4th of 2012, I turned 18. That's when I became legally responsible for my actions. What they're saying is that I'm responsible for things that happened before I was even born. And what that does is it throws the concept of free will, of freedom, of choice, of consequences for your actions, of having any kind of intended effect on the world, of trying to do anything with your life, of assuming any responsibility, all out the window. It's all gone. It's super, it's very nihilistic. It's very, very nihilistic. It literally throws free will out the window entirely. This is like saying, maybe I robbed a bank in Scottsdale. You're in Scottsdale. And Ben was doing one of his travel vlogs out in New York. And he didn't know I was going to do this. This was a very spur-of-the-moment thing. I came up with the idea even when he was all the way out in New York. And I get caught. I get arrested. And, they when I'm trying to defend myself, I'm throwing out excuses, and I say, well, my friend Ben is, he's a good buddy of mine, so you might want to talk to him. And they go over to Ben, and they say, yo, Ben, your friend Emmett robbed this bank. And Ben's like, oh, no, I had no idea. This is crazy. What happened? And they say, well, he robbed the bank, and we know that you're his good friend, his best friend, even. And Ben would say, well, that's true, but I don't know anything about this. I didn't know it was going to happen. And they say, well, that's too bad. You are his friend, and thus you are partially responsible for robbing that bank. And then when Ben, understandably, tries to defend himself, tries to say, well, this is crazy, then they say, well, we knew you were gonna say that. We knew you were gonna disagree. That's one of the classic symptoms of guilt, is you disagree. So that only further proves the fact that you're opening your mouth and trying to refuse the situation is just further proof that you're guilty. So there's nothing you can do. The people that really believe in this stuff are trying to run away from any degree of actual individual responsibility. It's like if any of these people had a sliver of self-respect, these thought processes would never come to fruition. It's this really nasty double whammy where at the same time you're not only able to blame everyone else for everything, but you are able to victimize yourself. It's like this person who didn't do anything, he's actually responsible not only for everything bad that happened in the past, but he's simultaneously responsible for me not being able to achieve my dreams or be exactly where I want to be in life right now. It's this random fucking guy's fault. I'll tell you what I'm responsible for. I'm responsible for having made a couple funny Oblivion videos. I'm responsible for paying my rent on time. I'm responsible for feeding my cats at 5 p.m. every night. And I'm responsible for everything I say on this channel. That is pretty much where my effect on the world starts and stops. And the notion that I am somehow intrinsically connected to everything every other white person has ever done is actually very racist. I know it's popular now to say that it's not possible to be racist towards white people, but you can't fit the definition of a word. You can't contort it to kind of fit some weird narrative you're trying to throw on everyone. It's not like a rule in a board game. It's a word with a definition. If you look up the actual definition of racism on Google, it is prejudice, discrimination, and antagonism directed against a person or people on the basis of their membership with a certain race or ethnic group. And that's exactly what I've been saying. It's this mindset that you have a membership with these fucking people, so you can just clump them all together. And that doesn't even happen in sports. It's not like you get signed on to play with the Yankees and suddenly everything Babe Ruth ever did is attributed to you. That doesn't even happen in fucking sports. And sports are teams that people choose to be on. But even in that, people aren't dumb enough to be like, oh yeah, every single player that there has ever been on a certain team is responsible for the achievements and the shortcomings of every other player on that team. And yeah, Google has added at the end of their definition, of course, that this is typically directed towards a marginalized group or a minority, which yes is true, but it doesn't restrict it to that. And if you look at like the actual Oxford definition or some other dictionary, they're not going to have that little addendum. I mean, I think it's okay, but I think people always point to that little addition that Google has made and be like, no, if you look at the definition, you got to look at this. But even with that added sentence, your argument still doesn't hold, because it says typically directed towards these people. And yes, it is typically directed towards those people. But again, it is not restricted to being directed towards those people. And I mean, yeah, of course, minorities experience a much more deeper and severe and truly evil type of racism that I could never possibly imagine. What this San Diego school district is supposedly putting on their teachers, and the thought process that has birthed those kinds of PowerPoints, I guess, and Twitter threads is nothing compared to what has historically been thought of as racism. But it still falls into that category. That's a thought process. How does this affect me? At best, it's just annoying. But if I were a teacher on that board, assuming this is legit, if I were a teacher on that board, that would be the most insulting thing I could possibly think of. You get a job, you're excited to teach a bunch of little kids, and then they throw up a PowerPoint that says, "You are racist." This has to do with principles, all right? This isn't a game of, like, who's had it worse. This is about being reasonable, being a reasonable and principled person. I'm not going to apologize for something I didn't do. It's that simple. And the fact that you are trying to blame me and a bunch of other people on my team, on my membership, like you like to say, shows that you are mentally a very whiny, shitty little like kindergartner. And I'm shocked that this whole line of thought has made it this far. I'd hoped that this pandemic, if nothing else, as tragic as it is, would kind of wake us up. It would be like a slap in the face, and we'd realize how petty and nonsensical a lot of the arguments in the last 5 years really were. But the fact that it's seeing so much longevity and is actually thriving through all of this is, it's really concerning. And that's why I feel like I had to say something. If you actually think about what they're telling you for 2 seconds, none of it makes sense. It doesn't hold up logically at all. And I know beggars can't be choosers, but if you get a job and they start throwing this shit at you, I would honestly advise that you leave, that you tell them this is bullshit and you go look for another job. Even I would do that. 100% I would do that. You can't take that garbage. No matter how desperate you are for a job, you're still a human being. You should have a little bit of fucking self-respect. So just stick up for yourself. Anyway, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you all later.